Greetings everybody and welcome to English Language Development Week 12, Module 4. We're at the end of it. Module 5 is next week. So I wanted to do a shout out to all our Purdue members of our class of English Language Development who participated in the INTESOL conference both as a participant and a presenter. And you can see here that, wow, we had a lot of representatives. So first to Kara Chambers on her session regarding the successes and struggles between ESL and Gen Ed teachers and the complexities in collaborating. A very well attended session and a very well thought out presentation, and talked to many teachers who really benefited from that exchange that Kara offered. Jarrett Hodges on bringing literacy relevance to gifted Latino students and considering the underrepresentation of Latino students in many gifted or advanced program placements and culturally and linguistically relevant curriculum for them in the classroom context. To our assistant, also Gilmentinova, and the role of policy mechanisms in language policy as she compared the United States, specifically New York and Indiana, to her region of Tatarstan, Russia, and the imminent loss of that language, the possibility of it becoming moribund as the users are not inclined to use it as much as they would the dominant language of Russia. Similar complexity to what we are experiencing in the United States. Kelsey Luman and Dan Miller from Frankfurt Schools and their wonderful presentation on case studies of ELL students, which remarked upon content from this course, but also other courses, and they have a long history of supporting English language learners in their districts. Heard many positive remarks about that session, so well done. And then Song Lee did a poster session, very well attended poster session I might add, and advice for new teachers to the less experienced. Wonderful advice with scholarly background about how we can support language teachers as they embark on this journey. So great job. For those of you that are in the ELL licensure program and intend to add that to your teaching license, a requirement of your portfolio is that you participate and present at INTESOL. So that is upcoming again in 2014. It's generally in early November, and it's usually on a Saturday, and it's very inexpensive and very enjoyable, both from a presenting perspective and also from a learning one. So good work, Purdue. So this week our activity is the jigsaw. So we are jigsawing. So you have done your synthesis on your particular chapter that you were assigned to read, and you will be in a group with 3 people total. So each of you have read a different reading, and Byanshu, Song, Yan, Alsu, and myself will be leading those discussions this week. Your expectation is to get that synthesis posted to your jigsaw group, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see a jigsaw group. I'm going to go to Song's group here. Oops, I'm going to expand that. I'm going to hit Group Discussion Board, and you can see here that Song has posted her synthesis here, and then there's responses that will follow from her classmates. So that needs to be posted there by Thursday of this week, much like we do with discussion. All right. So that's just a reference as to where it is. Also look for you to include and touch upon the readings that we have for this week. So it's a multiplicitous week. So we have the Clayton, Bernard, and Brisk article, and also, or I should say chapter, it's from a book chapter, and Recinto, also a book chapter. And we are sort of embarking on this arena of language and identity and how they are inextricably linked. One thing that Clayton and Barnhart and Brisk remark upon is the hearing impaired community and how they are regarded as a unique language minority community. In Indianapolis, there's an Indiana State School for the Deaf. They even host a residence hall there because many children come from around the state to be educated on public dollars in a completely immersive ASL language use. And they have some particular distinctions within the hearing impaired community, where there are some that believe that signing and using sign exclusively is a form of identity. It's a form of heritage language, but it's also a form of holding on to that identity based on their differences related to how they receive input. Because obviously how they receive comprehensible input is going to be somewhat different from English language learners as they have the capacity to hear. So what's interesting is that there are a growing number of children who come from language households that are dominant speakers of other languages other than English, in addition to being hearing impaired. And so that presents an additional complexity as you have American Sign and English in the building, but not necessarily other languages. So Clayton, Bernard, and Brisk get into the specificities about how they link their impairment, or I should say their difference, with how they see themselves and how that gives them strength and foundation by thinking about language as it relates to identity. And then Recinto talks more broadly about the loss of identity and how when students lose their native language, or as parents experience their children losing their native language, either with complete resignation and celebration or with doubt, that this loss of identity makes it very difficult, because in some households what we are seeing is the native language is evaporating so quickly they no longer have the capacity to be able to communicate with their parents or with their grandparents in a comprehensible way, and their language that they express among one another might be more limited. And one of the things we know is that among the Latino population, Spanish for the Latino population, it's evaporating very quickly from second to third generation. It's happening very quickly. Whereas European generations of the past that immigrated here, it took 4 generations, but with the Latino community, we're seeing that it's happening in virtually 1, because there's such pressures to evacuate that language. And so, in having spoken to many parents over the years who are very, very sad that their children have either made this choice by force or by coercion or by their own resignation to learning English, they really mourn the fact that their children do not have that. And they don't just see it as language, they see it as them losing their culture, losing their identity, losing their heritage, and being subtracted from so they can gain English. So Recinto gets into that. So be sure to weave that into your postings this week. Module 5 is coming next week. We really get into the role of the teacher. That's your role as an EFL or an ELL teacher or content or ESL teacher, elementary teacher, and how you can specifically design instruction for your students so that their needs are met as fully as we can. So that's it for week 12 for English language development. Have a good week. Bye now.